morning to Miss Irma. My name is Denise and my matrix number is 23DBT18F2005, and the experiment that I'll be carrying out today is the precision and accuracy measurement. So in this experiment, I'll be using two equipments, which is the kitchen scale and the digital balance. For the first part of the experiment, I'll be using the kitchen scale. In this experiment, the empty container that I'll be using is this. So before starting, I'll weigh the weight of the empty container. So the weight of the empty container is about 10 grams. The next part of the video, I'll be using a measuring cup. So the measuring cup I am using has scales of milliliters, and I'll be measuring 100 ml of water. Okay, so I'll take the water that I've measured and place it into the container, and now using the kitchen scale, I will weigh the weight of it. So the weight of the water, including the container, is about 110 grams. The first part of the reading, I have got 110 grams of water, including the weight of the cup. So to get a more precise and accurate reading, I decided to do it for the second time. I decided to take a second reading. So this is another 100 ml of water that I've measured with the measuring cup. I will pour it into the same empty container. Now I will weigh it using the kitchen scale. So I've gotten the same reading, which is 110 grams. Moving on to the next part, I'll be using a water tumbler. So first I'll measure the same amount, which is 100 ml, into this water tumbler, which has scales. So I'll pour it into the empty container. So the weight of the water that I've measured there's a slight difference, which is about 105 grams. So I will take a second reading just to get a more accurate reading. I've decided to do a second reading using the water tumbler. So after measuring 100 ml of water, I've placed it into the same container, and now I'm weighing it for the second time. This time I've gotten 110 grams. For the last part of the experiment, using the kitchen scale, I'll be using a baking cup which has scales on it. So there's a scale from 50 up to 200 ml. So I'll be using this to measure 100 ml of water. So I'll take. Okay. Okay, then I'll pour it into the same container. Using the kitchen scale, I'll weigh the container. So the weight of the container and the water is slightly lesser, which is 90 grams. So I will redo it for the second time to get a more accurate and precise reading. And that is all for the kitchen scale experiment. So moving on to the next part of the experiment, I'll be using a digital scale. So first, I will use the same empty container as I've used for the previous experiment to just weigh the empty container on the digital scale. So the weight of the empty container is about 11 grams. So I'll wait for the second time just to get a more accurate reading. So it's still 11 grams. So for the next part, I'll be using a measuring cup. This is the same measuring cup as I've used for the kitchen scale, and it has scales on it. So I will measure 100 ml of water. Okay, that is 100 ml of water. Now I'll pour it into the empty container. And I will place it on the digital scale. So the weight of the empty container and the water is about 119 grams. So I decided to do a second reading to get a more precise measurement. So I will pour it into the same empty container. So I've gotten the same reading, which is about 119 grams, including the weight of the cup. Next part, I'll be using a water tumbler, which has scales on it. So I'll take 100 ml of water from here. Okay, then I'll pour it into the empty container. So the weight of the water and the container is 117 grams. So I've decided to take a second reading using the same water tumbler. I've already poured 100 ml of water into this, and now I'm pouring it into the empty container. And I'll weigh the weight of the empty container. So the weight is 118 grams, including the weight of the container. For the last part of the video, I'll be using a baking cup which has scales on the side of it. First, I'll measure 100 ml of water. Okay, then I'll pour it into the empty container. Now I'll weigh. So the weight of the water and the empty container is about 103 grams. To get a more accurate reading, I decided to do a second attempt. So here I've already measured 100 ml of water, pouring it into the same empty container. I will weigh. So the weight is 105 grams, including the weight of the cup. That is all from me today. Thank you.